Welcome to This Podcast is Making Me Thirsty, the number one destination for Seinfeld fans. Today's guest is an actress who's been in over 80 TV shows and films, including The Wonder Years, Spin City, Nip Tuck, Californication, and Euphoria. And of course, she played Jerry's girlfriend and NYU grad student Sharon in the unforgettable season 4 episode of Seinfeld, The Outing. Please welcome Paula Marshal. Paula, thanks for joining.
Hi, everybody.
So, Paula, 29 years ago, can you believe it? The Outing aired on NBC. It was actually the second episode ever on Thursday night. So it made the big jump. So 28 million people watched it. So take us back.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy. Tell us, I mean, what a role. How'd the role come about? Tell us a little bit about the audition process, what you can remember at least.
I remember Seinfeld wasn't a big hit then yet. It was like fourth season, you said it was?
Yeah, season 4. It was on the cusp. It was on the cusp. Basically.
Yes, it was going up. I remember, I believe it was over near Warner Brothers. I remember the building I walked into. I wish I could remember the casting director's name. I was going to look it up and I didn't.
Mark Hirschfeld?
Thank you, Mark Hirschfeld. Okay. So it was Mark was there, and they don't always have the stars of the show, but Jerry was a producer. They don't always have the stars of the show read with, in the audition room. He was there. And I had watched the show. So I was obviously nervous. I put on probably the worst New York accent that I've ever heard. So I apologize to everyone who listens to me and is like, where the fuck did she learn that accent? Because it's really bad. But I was like, no, she lives in New York. Or maybe she's from Jersey or something. So I do okay. I have to say, unless I'm wrong, it was my first sitcom ever in front of a live audience. So being funny, and Sharon wasn't necessarily the funny one. Guest stars on sitcoms aren't the funny ones, not normally, unless they're crazy big characters. So, I throw the ball up, they hit it back. As a guest star, you lob balls to the stars of the show. And when I got it, I was, excited. You're young and you're, new, and you book something and you're dying. So, that's what I remember, just being there. I literally remember seeing Jerry sitting there. And it was just amazing. Yeah.
And you mentioned about the lobbying back and forth. This episode doesn't really it articulates that the best one of the best of any episodes. I mean, everything you're saying during that one reveal scene is basically just setting up the laugh every single time. It just gets more and more. But I'm curious. So when you got there, first day on the set, that sort of thing. What was the vibe like? Because like you mentioned, they weren't a huge hit yet, but like O'Hara just mentioned, they just moved to Thursday. The contest had come out a little before that, which kind of gave them a big bump. But they weren't huge yet, but they had to think in the back of their mind that this episode was going to be similar to the contest and that it's handling a touchy subject, the way they're handling it. Was that vibe there? Were they kind of talking about that? Or is it just like, we're doing this, it's funny, and that's it, we don't give a crap?
No, that set was, again, it was one of my first sitcom sets ever. So maybe I wasn't paying enough attention. It felt very laid back. I was trying to pay attention to the rules of the sitcom and how it goes, and the table read, and you show up Monday, you do the table read, and then they change the lines, you go home, and then Tuesday you start rehearsing it. I do remember something, probably it was like maybe Wednesday or something, you get line changes, things change, it's not funny. They wrote in, it was after lunch, and I show up back on the stage, and Jerry's sitting on the couch, and I think George said, Paula, did you get the rewrites? I'm like, yes, I did. And Jerry says to me, I get to kiss Paula Marshal. And I go, but I get to kiss Jerry Seinfeld. And so they wrote that in. And so I was a little like, oh, shoot, I got to kiss Jerry Seinfeld in this thing. So I looked at the thing and they rewrote it. And so I just remember little bits and pieces because it was fucking 29 years ago.
Right.
I hate that you said
that. It's interesting. It's a little nuance. We were talking before you came on. It just, for some reason, stuck in my head. And maybe this is part of it. And we'll go scene by scene. But the scene where you mention you should hear the way and you have it in that New York accent, my boyfriend talks to me.
Yes.
All right. And then you end up making out with Jerry, like, you know, the day later. I'm just curious. Yeah. I wonder if you didn't have a boyfriend, maybe.
You should hear how my boyfriend talks to me. And then he goes, what? Boyfriend? What? What are you telling me? Yeah, now I do remember that. Yeah, I guess she's a.
And you know, since you brought it up, I've always contended that your makeout scene with Jerry on the couch is one of the more intense ones that Jerry has in the series. I got to say, I don't know if that was chemistry on the set or what that was, but it definitely seemed a little more next level, if you will, than some of the other ones.
I definitely got into it. If you saw me, I was kind of like grinding up against him a little bit. My daughter watched this show. She just got hip to Seinfeld. And and I remember kind of going, God, I was kind of like working it. Well, Jerry's he was a little stiff. He's a stand-up. He wasn't like an actor, like trying to get some. There was no tongue. I will tell you that. It was a very simple little kiss, but I was doing I like to take advantage when I can. I really try to be as believable as I can. It's interesting when you got to kiss. It depends on who you're kissing.
Memorable for sure, and in his little turtleneck. So as a guest star, like we've spoken to so many, but you were in so many scenes, and so many scenes with all the big four characters. So maybe we'll just take it maybe scene by scene. So that opening scene, right? You kind of walk in the coffee shop. You guys are kind of eavesdropping. I mean, just tell us a little bit what you remember about that scene. Obviously, the eavesdropping, and that's when Elaine does the whole, just because you two are gay, the whole thing. So,
and then I have that weird little look.
Yeah.
When we're not saying anything, but you kind of have to fake like you're overhearing. And whoever played the girl I was with, we kind of had to like lean in and pretend talk, but I don't think I said 2 words to her. It's always so strange when you can't really talk, but you have to act like maybe you are whispering. I guess that was the first scene, just trying to be not too big. Sitcoms, it's easy to be too much and then you don't buy it. But even in Seinfeld, I feel like as big as it is in moments, it's always like really grounded in such a reality that you buy it. Maybe some of, Michael's like when he comes in and he slides in, which by the way, he totally practiced that. Like all of a sudden I was like, what's that? And I was talking to George. It's like, what does that sound? And he goes, oh, that's, he's practices his like entrance. I was like, oh, that's cool. He does it very well. So I don't really remember too much except that like look I kind of throw away in the coffee shop scene. And then what?
And then, probably the most memorable scene, one of the most memorable scenes in the history of television. I mean, because it's one of the most memorable in the history of Seinfeld, is the whole reveal scene we were just talking about. I mean, that's just brilliantly acted, obviously, by Jason, Jerry, and yourself, the whole back and forth. And you do a very good job reporting, the faces you're making as you're writing things down. Oh, really? Okay. You're doing all that. And it gives me a laugh every time, the way you kind of look at both of them, and Jerry doesn't like this shirt and that kind of thing, and and my parents don't know what the hell's going on.
And then he's with the pear.
Yeah.
And he says, pear? Do you wash this pear? God, well, then wash it already. Do you see how he talks to me? That's the thing. Yeah. Then he goes, you should see how my boyfriend talks to me. But the look on Jerry, the like quick, like little, all right.
When you start piecing it together. Yes, and then the big reveal when George finally puts it all together. Oh no, why have sex right now? Like that had to be in front of a live audience, just an incredible, laughter explosion.
It was so, again, first sitcom. And I remember rehearsing and the director said to me, Paula, make sure you hold for the laugh here because he's going to get a big laugh. And I go, oh, cool. And then I kind of go over to Jason. I go, what does that mean again? And he goes, hold for the laugh. So they're going to laugh a lot. Like literally, I'd never done a sitcom. And I didn't go to like acting class for sitcoms or technical, acting class for film. I didn't do it. So I guess I just wasn't aware. And then he goes, it's like a wave. You ride the wave and you wait till the laughter kind of dies down. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Because it's hard when you have to be the person that chimes in after the big laugh. You got to weigh that. But I remember like when he said, "Come on, baby." And then I remember like doing something weird with my lips and the pen and like it was yesterday. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of laughter.
I was like studying your face at the end of that scene to see if there was any like give, but yeah, you kept that straight face. Remarkable job.
I didn't crack. I don't think. No, I don't think so.
So you mentioned you weren't on a sitcom before. You did a little Wonder Years with Wayne Arnold, right? A little Life Goes On.
Totally different, not sitcoms.
Right. So what do you remember about, listen, Larry Charles wrote this episode. How was he involved, or Larry David on the set? You mentioned the director. I think that was Tom Sharonis, I believe. But
yeah,
how involved were Jerry, Larry Charles, and even Larry kind of?
I remember Larry David being on, maybe more so than Charles. Although they were both there for the table read 100%. Just kind of behind the scenes. I didn't really hang out or talk too much with them, but they were definitely there, writing and punching up the jokes in between. I think I really was just, pinching myself and trying to do a good job. So I wasn't as relaxed. So I probably didn't notice a lot that was going on.
Right.
I'm scared.
Yeah. Well, we hear a lot from guest stars that the set's very welcoming.
Oh yeah.
All the actors, they don't have that star. They're welcoming. You like O'Hara mentioned, you were in a scene with everyone, all the main four. Your scene with Julia seemed short on in the show, but I don't know if there was anything that you did more that was cut or anything like that. I know there was the whole jacket thing. Was she pregnant? Is that why she was wearing the jacket? Do you remember? Is that?
I'm remembering. I haven't seen the episode in a really long time. Even though it runs like all the time. And by the way, every time someone sees it, I get a text. I'm like, cool, there's $20. So I believe she was pregnant, and that was just the whole thing. You take your jacket, everyone wants me to take my jacket off. It was really, really short, but it wasn't any longer than that. It's not like it was longer and they cut it. That doesn't happen too often. I feel like with sitcoms, they know what works, and there's very little editing in post.
Right.
Makes
sense.
So speaking of the vibe of the crew and everyone, who'd you get lunch with? Like, who do you remember hanging out with? You mentioned like Jason kind of giving you a lot of advice. Anybody have a special connection with you?
I wish I could remember 29 years ago, and I really can't. I feel like I probably went to lunch on the lot, and but I didn't really hang out with anybody. But Jason was especially nice to me. I do remember that, and Jerry was too. But Jerry's the big wig, and he has a lot of hats that he wears, so he couldn't just be as relaxed as just a regular actor on a sitcom. But probably Jason and I had a good time working together.
And so you mentioned this was your first sitcom, and a lot came after it. Would you say that being on Seinfeld with 28 million people, a huge episode, The Outing, did you see it opening doors right after that once it aired, or did it not bump and not give a pop that you thought it might? Or
I think it did. I think anytime you're on a big hit show, it elevates your, I think they used to call it TVQ rating. That used to be a thing, that how kind of popular you are. You could Google it. I swear it was a thing back in the day, 29 years ago. I can't let that number go, by the way. Thank you for that.
I'll edit it out.
So I started probably just reading for more sitcoms that my agents were like, oh, look, Paul is funny. I was like, well, I wasn't really that funny. It was really them, but okay. And then one thing led to another. And then I think my first sitcom after that was this one I did with not Jason Bateman. That was another one. Out of Practice. No, that was another one. God, I've worked a lot.
Wild Oats.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Paul Rudd, Tim Conlon, and Jana Marie Hupp. And that was the same year as Friends was coming out. A little silly show called Friends that we made fun of. Over
but it's similar, like 4 young people in the city, right? Essentially.
Yes. And it was kind of funny. And Paul, I remember Paul kind of not really like, he was like, I just want to be a movie star. I'm like, okay, I just want to be a sitcom star. Like after doing Seinfeld and working with Julia and knowing she was pregnant, I'm like, wow, this is the gig to get. One, the hours are amazing. Directors come in, we do it, they're gone. They get a tea time at 2:30, most of them. I know Jimmy Burrows always had his tea time at around 3:00. So I was like, this is the greatest thing in the world. Also making people laugh. And it was a play. You played, you had fun, you messed up, it didn't matter. You got to feel it if it worked right in the moment. And I kind of got hooked on it. I never thought in a million years I could ever be in my own sitcom. And then I did a few. Of course, they all got canceled. Still mad.
Suzanne Cryer mentioned it. I don't know if you know Suzanne Cryer.
Yes.
She mentioned the exact same thing you just said, almost verbatim about TV and sitcoms.
Even though I was new to it, it was sort of like everybody else always wanted to be movie stars, and I never ever was interested in that, ever. I've never ever been interested in movies. I mean, I was really excited to do Wag the Dog, but that's because your agents always wanted you to do them. But I always felt back from the beginning that TV was the only thing I was interested in doing, and what I really wanted to do was sitcoms. And so I remember like being on Two Guys and a Girl and having people come up to me and say, well, now that you are on Two Guys and a Girl, you can like start a movie career. And I'd look at them like, what? Why? Like, why would I want that? And now, of course, I have proven to be totally correct. And they all want to be on TV now. Nobody wants to be in a movie anymore. And no woman wants to be in a movie. Because you can have a baby and a job, and like I can go to work, and like I did Silicon Valley and never missed a school pickup. It's like Mike Judge.
Yeah, we wanted to get to that. Alec Berg,
greatest guys in the entire world who I literally would like, kill my children for. Like literally, they are the greatest guys in the entire world. But like they gave me like this beautiful life for 6 years where I just like was totally able to do a role that I was obsessed with and be part of one of the best things ever written and not miss a school pickup. So TV is where it's at, particularly for women. And also just, it's what people watch.
How it lends itself to that schedule. And it's like, she really thought she was onto something doing TV rather than why do you want to do on a movie for years and all that kind of thing. So very interesting. You guys have the same take. Yeah.
I mean, as I don't like hotel rooms necessarily for more than like a week or two. When you're on set like for a month, and it's not easy. I mean, it's fantastic and glamorous and that, but it's hard being away from home if you have a kid or not.
Right. So I'm circling back to that season 4. You mentioned that you were a big fan of Seinfeld beforehand. Were there any other auditions prior, or was that your first tryout in '93?
That was my first one. Yeah, 100%.
And so Hirschfeld, I guess, connected with your agent. We're just always curious about the kind of the intricacies of how that happens. Was there a relationship there, or just kind of the work you were doing? And
no, you just
be a great reporter.
Sometimes you just go in and you read and you get it, and it's nothing more than that. They're like, yeah, I liked her best. She got to the humor. She nailed the joke. She, you never know why you don't get it. And sometimes you don't know why you got it either, because there's so many girls that, audition, and now we don't go into the rooms anymore, which is super hard to
imagine.
Try to, be funny on a Zoom callback or whatever. I don't know. I don't like it at all. I like to make people laugh. So, but in that moment,
that's the genius of Mark Hirschfeld. I mean, he picked the exact right person for your exact role. Like, you will forever be Sharon, the NYU reporter to Seinfeld, fans.
Well, how much fun did Mark have? All of the girls of Seinfeld. There was this, I think was it Vice Magazine or was it Entertainment Weekly? They did this big spread of the women of Seinfeld, and it was this photo shoot and all the different. It was like Jamie Gertz was in it. Like all the high end with Terry Hatcher was in there, and they're real and they're fantastic or whatever she said. Yeah.
There's only one Paula Marshal.
This is the thing about it, Paul, is you're, as O'Hara just mentioned, touched on, like, when I think of Seinfeld and that time period, like we were in high school, 93, it comes out. The flannel you're wearing, the blue flannel, I mean, that is 1990, the jeans, it's like a time capsule of 1993. Yep. And it's like, you're the perfect,
you want to know something funny? Yeah. I'm sorry I talk over you. I get excited. So the jeans I wore were my jeans. The wardrobe was I didn't even have any makeup on, by the way, which I was really mad at. I was like, I want some makeup so I look more attractive. Hardly had any makeup on. So I think whatever I had in my bag, I kind of put it on really quickly. The jeans that I have on in the show, my daughter, who is 17 years old, wears those jeans today. Because I'm like, those are the Seinfeld jeans.
That's
Paul.
awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's a great story. And those jeans are great. I mean, the whole, I mean, the natural look is great though. I think we all appreciate that.
Yeah, well, you're welcome.
And that episode, clearly you were in a ton of scenes, but also the parents were in it. Estelle Harris, Liz Sheridan, may they rest in peace. Were they on set, or was that filmed somewhere else? I wonder. Like, tell us a little bit what was happening that week on set.
Well, everybody, even if you're not in the same scene, you're all together. It's unlike an hour drama. Sometimes you never see people because they don't shoot on the same day. No, you wake up in the morning, you go to work, you get some craft service, you do your table read, everybody laughs, they take a break, and then you start rehearsing. So sorry, I don't know how to turn my thingies off. Everyone was always there. I was walking into a big happy family. No ego, no nothing, just joy.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned, I know, more recently, with Euphoria, it's kind of a different vibe than a Seinfeld set, I'm guessing. So curious, I just met you've been talking about, being funny and being on sitcoms, things like that. And now, you're on this other show that's a little bit, obviously, as we said, different. How are you finding that? I mean, is there something where you're just like, it's my job, I'm doing it, or do you prefer one more than the other? Just curious.
Well, 100% I prefer comedies. All I want to do is get back on a sitcom, not just because of the hours, but because of the joy it brings me to make people laugh, and the experience working with actors and writers and performing on tape night. It's not a play. We can mess up, and just seeing the audience react, there's no high like that I've ever felt before. So I would love to get back to that. And I try all the time. I'm like, hey, it's Paula. They're like, yeah, we're still looking. It's hard. It's hard to find sitcoms, and I'm older. But Single Camera or Euphoria, just to be a part of that ridiculously, brilliant show. And the fact that Marsha, funny names that I get, Marsha finally got to say something. I remember when I read the script, I'm like, oh my God, I've got 4 pages here of a monologue, Sam. He's like, I know, right? So I was scared to death. It's just different. It's, you take all day to do that, and no crying in sitcoms, hardly. Although I cried a couple times on Gary Unmarried, maybe.
Oh, Jay Moore, right?
Yeah.
So you start, your first sitcom ever was Seinfeld. Talk about, top of the hill. And then you went on, obviously, Gary Unmarried. Wild Oats, some Spin City.
Spin City. Yep.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about, working with some of these guys, like a Michael J. Fox. I mean, comparing it to even the set of Seinfeld. We always wonder how these guys are great for a reason, but yes. I'm sure they have some similarities.
Michael J. Fox. What a joy. I remember he had a lot of guitars in his room, and I had traveled to New York, and I had a little baby Taylor with me, if you know what that is. It's a Taylor guitar, but it's a baby version. It's like a mini cute one. And he saw me practicing. I'm terrible. I'm literally so bad. But you want something to do while you're working in New York by yourself. And I ended up buying him a baby Taylor as a parting gift. He said something to me, my first episode, I think it was the first one of Spin City. It was down the hallway, and it was a steady cam shot that it's kind of rare in a sitcom. They don't usually do steady cams, but they did. And then they would bring it out to that like front office. So we do it in front of the audience. I get a big laugh. And then we go back to do a second take. And he says to me, he goes, Marshall, not many hold a candle to me out there. And you just did it. And I just went, oh, and then he goes, do it again. I was like, cool, I will. So I'll never forget when he said that to me.
It's funny. I was literally eating dinner before my kids. I was talking about Michael J. Fox playing Johnny Be Good during Back to the Future. So I'm glad you just brought that up. But so, yeah, I mean, your history in sitcom and other shows for that matter had such kind of a interweaving of Seinfeld alumni, right? Like Lisa Edelstein, Jeremy Piven, even the guy you mentioned, Hap from Wild Oats. I mean, all these people played a part in making the show what it is. Like, is there any ever like banter, like when you hit sets, like, oh, hey, I saw your episode, blah, 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 or no?
You mean like between actors?
Yeah, talking about the Seinfeld experience.
Well, to me, what really happened with Seinfeld was everyone would repeat the line. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
Henry Winkler said that to me. Like, I just met him and he said, not that there's anything wrong with that. I was like, oh yeah, you saw that. Like everyone says it. They need the opportunity. And I think I was the only person on Seinfeld on that episode that never said that line, which is
right.
I never said it. Everyone else did. But no, I don't think, I just think people, mostly like normal people. I don't think actors ever say, oh, I saw you on this and that. And no, they don't. But just my friends.
Yeah, I know another. I know we're kind of off Seinfeld a bit here, but I'm just interested in these things. Like another show that you were recently in, As We See It, on Amazon. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Rick Glassman's podcast. He has a really good podcast, and that show seems to be getting a lot of attention. That show is a little. I guess it's funny, but it also has like it's heartwarming moments and things like that. Yeah. I don't know if that what your experience was like on that show with that topic and what they're dealing with there and everything.
It was amazing. I think I did like maybe 3 episodes, but I think one was kind of combined into the other, so it ended up being maybe 2. The ease at which these actors perform, it was hard. And Sosie, Kevin Bacon's daughter, she was so great. I liked her very much. But just everyone and just doing a show with this topic, it was like it was meant to be. It was about time, and it really tapped into something that I've never really seen. And I contacted a friend of mine who has an autistic son, and I go, just tell me. Like, I auditioned for it, put myself on tape in my little tape room, and when I got it, I just wanted to know, like, what are your struggles? Love is love. You love a kid, it doesn't matter. But tell me what bothers you. What don't people understand about it? So I could try to tap into that a little more, and have her be a little more believable, because it's something I didn't know anything about. I love doing it though.
So now you mentioned your daughter getting into Seinfeld, and we love to hear about a new generation getting back into the show. So why do you think this younger generation is leaning into it more so? And what was her comments about the episode you were in? We won't say how many years later.
I'm going to text her and tell her to come in here and tell you. Although she's doing homework.
And while we're at it, if she wants to catch up on the show, she can subscribe to our podcast on YouTube.
Come here, Maya. I have a question for you. But you have to be on camera. They want to ask you a question.
Does she have the jeans?
She's not wearing the jeans. Okay,
so it'd be great if I was wearing.
I know it'd be great.
What about the blue flannel?
That's Maya.
How you doing?
Hey, Maya.
So here's a question. Yeah.
I might re-ask it. So yeah, tell us. You're getting into Seinfeld, right?
Yeah.
What do you first? What do you love most about the show? Let's just talk about your mother's episode specifically. What did you love about the outing?
I just think a lot of old television is just so much more entertaining to watch than new television, even though I don't exactly get all of the old references, or not old, but not timely references of today. I just think the jokes are delivered better. And even though it's like a show about nothing, I could kind of, like, it is described as a show about nothing. I could just have it in the background. I don't know. It's just more, I connect to the characters more. The jokes are funnier. I don't know.
Funny.
Like newer shows, the writing, I just feel like is just not as good. And like, it's just.
Well said.
Yeah, very well said.
Yeah, you're spot on. It was just smart writing, great actors and actresses. And characters you kind of rooted for, even though they do silly things.
And Kramer, that's Kramer gets his own point.
It's true. All right.
That's great.
Thank you.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
See ya.
But
Yeah. It's the best.
now we got to listen to the podcast. You can listen to
I will.
all our favorite guest stars.
I know. She would
That's
love
great, though. We love hearing that. We love hearing that the new generation. It is a timeless show. It's interesting that even the outing, the beginning of the episode, you miss each other because you don't know what each other's looks like. You're both on the payphones.
Oh
calling,
yeah, we're on the
right?
phone, on the payphone.
Exactly. It's like that. Like your daughter doesn't know what a payphone is or never used one, I'm assuming, right? But she understands the show in that aspect of it, and it's like the only thing that changes is technology, right? The interrelationships and what happens and that sort of thing is always going to be funny. I mean, funny's funny, even if you don't like. It's a time capsule in that sense too, in that all of two-line phone, the mix-up, everything,
Yeah.
And George's sweater, did you really like it?
No, didn't like it.
And at one point, Paula, how does a girl from Maryland become a Cowboys fan?
I know. Okay.
Can we get into that for a sec?
Here's my story. So, growing up in DC, everyone liked the Redskins, the old team called the Redskins. And for whatever reason, my mother, who was the big football fan in the family, not even my dad, she didn't like George Allen, the coach. She also didn't like Billy Kilmer either, the quarterback. And so she just, Tom Landry and Roger Staubach with those hats and the suit. I mean, these are some sexy men. So I think my mom just crushed on them and just liked the suit, and they were just good. I had maybe good like Catholic people. I don't know. And so she started liking the Cowboys for no other reason. And so I did what my mother did. I liked the Cowboys because my mother liked the Cowboys. And then it just never went away, ever. It's weird.
That's great.
And my daughter's a Cowboy fan. We went to the game they played at the stadium here in LA when they played San Diego this year, and it was amazing. So I know it's not easy being a Cowboy fan either after the 80s. Yeah.
And I love how I still say the same thing. They're LA, but you call them San Diego. But
I mean, I can't, because I was like, what's the name? The Chargers? It's LA. We don't deserve two football teams. I'm not even sure we deserve one football team. I'm happy the Rams won, and it was a great game. But I don't think people in LA really dig football the way like normal people do. Other people.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Paula, thanks so much. Thanks so much for making us laugh over the years, first off. And, you were unforgettable in that episode. We will never forget it. And we're just so happy we get to continue to watch you on the big screen. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, I just hope when my time comes and it's the Emmy thing and I die, it would be the shot of Sharon. That's all I want, is just to be included. So I don't know if guest stars, get that honor, but here's hoping.
Wow,
you deserve that.
Well said.
Thank you, Paul.
Awesome,
This was great.
Paula.
See you guys.
Thank you. Have a great
Thanks
night.
so much.
Bye. And now there's this. Here we go. I'm not great at this. Bye.